Hi, I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com, and I'm here with another astrology video. This one is on Venus, the planet of love and beautification, and it's traversing backwards. It's stopping its forward motion, and it's beginning to get ready to go backwards at 10 degrees of Scorpio on October 6th. All the way through till it hits 25 degrees of Libra on November 16th. So Venus going retrograde, what does it mean? Okay, Venus, as you know, is the planet that rules Taurus and Libra. We are in the Libra time frame right now. So of course your Libra people are going to be affected directly, as will your Taurus people. Venus is the planet of all things beautiful, all things artistic, all things we love, the planet of love, literally, the planet of lust, literally, and all things in the creative endeavors. So the retrograde is bringing up those issues as Venus suspends its forward motion. The retrograde is bringing up those issues that we haven't dealt with in reference to all things romantic, all things loving, all things relationship, and all things creative artistic. So whether that's you need to remodel your house, you're looking to find a boyfriend, you want to change the way you look, you want to present yourself in a different way, you're looking for that perfect creative job that enhances all of your attributes, this is the time frame which is going to bring each and every one of those little thoughts front and center to what's happening in your life. So what has been left undone in all of these areas of your life will now come forward. And remember, during a retrograde, old things can be brought up. Now, by things, I mean lovers, because it's Venus and Venus rules romantic situations. So don't be surprised if somebody from your past calls you up or wants to visit or wants to talk about the good old times or the bad old times, depending on how it works. These issues will come up now in order to release them so that you can move forward as Venus gets ready to go direct. Remember, it's approximately 40 days and 40 nights that Venus is going backwards, and it's a very auspicious timing because in that time frame we need to go over all of the things and work through things that have not yet left our psyche and basically keep us blocked from moving forward in those areas. Again, romantic, artistic, and creative. So what does it mean exactly when a planet goes retrograde? What it means is exactly the same thing. Let's say you're walking down the street and you're the planet of Venus and you've gone by this block and you're walking and suddenly you decide to stop. I'm going to stop because I didn't really look at that house back there and I want to see what's on the front porch. So you start to back up and you go to see what's on the front porch. So you get a second view of what wasn't quite sitting right within your frame of reference. And that's what a Venus retrograde is. Also, please, ladies and gentlemen who are wanting to fix their appearance by either doing cosmetic surgery or going to a new hairdresser or filling their lips for the first time or Botoxing or whatever it is you're going to do, don't. During the Venus retrograde is not the time to play around with your looks. It won't turn out the way that you want it to. Now, conceivably, it could turn out better than you want it to, but 9 out of 10 times I get the calls during the retrograde with people freaking out about what they've done. They did something with their eyes, they did something with their face, they went for some sort of surgery that was cosmetic. This is not anything that's necessity. This is something that you choose to do of your own volition. So you want to make sure that you plan it for after the retrograde period where the results will turn out better. Now, during the Venus retrograde, we can do a lot of things in reference to beautification. So let's say you're wanting to fix things in your home or you're wanting to fix the way you present yourself. You can start to lay the roadmap out for that during this time frame. And it's really important that you do because as soon as Venus goes direct, those opportunities are going to be brought right to you. So you will have a chance to either go backwards and relearn again the lesson that you just learned from the Venus retrograde, or to let go of that, free yourself from it and move forward. So it's all up to you and what you choose. My suggestion is to move forward with the Venus retrograde after it goes direct and to just jump into those new projects. So it's a really good time to lay down the groundwork. Also, if you're starting a new relationship or you're wanting to start a new relationship, think twice before starting it in the retrograde, because a lot of times, and especially in the latter half of this retrograde, the energy is more of a narcissistic vibe to it as far as the relationship. And what does that mean? It just means people are very self-focused and very self-centered. So the relationship aspects from about, I'm going to say, the 26th of October on till the 16th basically highlight our own personal needs and what it is we want for ourselves, which isn't very good for starting a relationship because it's supposed to be reciprocal. Two people combining and meeting in the middle. That's what it's supposed to be. So in a sense, the retrograde is bringing these issues up. We may be presented with somebody that we really want to date, but are they right for us? And are they considering our needs? Are we considering their needs? These are things that need to be brought up. Also, when it comes to negotiating and business deals during this time with creative projects that you may be doing, you will also need to step back ever so slightly to see if it's your needs or their needs that are being met, or if it's reciprocal. Very important word during this time is reciprocation. The other thing I want to point out and mark on your calendars is on October 10th, we have the Venus retrograde in a square to Mars, which is still in the retrograde shadow period. So what does that mean? Probably you shouldn't talk to anybody on that day, at least not romantically and work-wise, and you should probably bite your tongue from whatever you're going to say, because the repercussions of that can lead to violence, because of course it's Venus and Mars together. And what does that mean? It means people's egos and their ego and pride can get hurt during this time, and as retaliation they can resort to some sort of violence and or behavior which isn't as good as it should be if it were at a different time frame. In other words, anger will be heightened during that day. So you want to watch out on October 10th. You also want to keep in mind, what did I say the whole time that Mars was retrograde? I said Mars retrograde is men behaving badly. Well, we have Venus retrograde. So what is that? It's women behaving badly. So we have this imbalance of power again, but this time it's ladies' turn to be obnoxious during this cycle time frame, where last time it was the men's time. So we have a flipping of energy. So be prepared to hear a lot of stories about women friends, women in the media, women all over the place and what they're doing. Now, are they really behaving badly, or is it bringing the imbalance of power back to where it should be? We won't know until the retrograde is over, because during that time things are coming up. But because Mars is in the shadow period going along with the energy, we're never really quite sure where we stand. So it's maybe best just to observe during this time if you can. Keep in mind that temperaments will be heightened or will be aggravated. So you might want to keep your opinions to yourself, at least until the Venus goes direct, and then write down everything you want to say and then bring it out afterwards, because you'll have a clearer vision of what's going on. So let's jump into the signs now. So during the Venus retrograde, what does it mean for each sign, for each of us and our signs, whether they be our sun sign, our moon sign, or our rising sign? And once again, I love to tell people, if you can do a chart online and you know your time of birth, then you can do it for your rising and your moon sign and your sun sign, and you will know where the Venus retrograde in Scorpio is traveling through your chart. And that's very important, because where it goes through your chart is where it affects you in your chart. So if it affects your first house, your rising sign, that's a very different feel to it than if it affects you in your 6th house of health, or if it affects you in your 9th house of travel, or your 10th house of career, or your 4th house of home. So you want to make sure you know where Venus is traveling. So let's hit it. All right, so we have your Aries. Always first on the zodiac, the natural real is Aries. So where is it and how does it affect Aries? Keep in mind that Mars is still in the stationary going direct phase of the Mars retrograde. And as I said, Venus and Mars will be at war. Men versus women, or women versus men, because it's Venus first, ladies first, Mars second, on October 10th. So look for very poignant and very aggressive conversations during the 10th when that square is direct. Okay, so we have it during that time frame. All right, so let's look, having said that with Aries, the Venus retrograde is in your 8th house of other people's money and your sexual attitudes with other people. So this is very interesting. There's several ways this could go. Money could be given to you, money could be taken away from you, and or there could be a promise of sex or a taking away of sex. So for the Aries people, this is a negotiating time frame for you, especially since it sits in your 8th house. This is your values and your beliefs, but it's also other people's values and beliefs, both sexually and financially. So you want to pay attention to how you're communicating those needs to either partners or potential partners during this time frame. And as I've said, if you're meeting somebody new in this Venus retrograde, it's probably not the time to put all the chips into one basket, because it won't be revealed to you about how this person really feels and what the true motivation or agenda is behind the situation until after Venus goes direct. So for all intents and purposes, it might be better to wait until Venus is direct. Having said that, Aries is going to do what they want to do. And keep in mind the degrees that we're looking for is the 10 degrees of Venus in Scorpio going retrograde all the way back to 25 degrees of Libra. So from 10 to 0, you want to look in your chart and see if you have any planets at 10 degrees, 9 degrees, 8 degrees, 7 degrees, all the way back to 0. And then in the last 5 degrees of Libra, because that is where Venus is teetering. Do you have any personal planets at that degree? Because that will tell you how you're being affected on an emotional level when it goes within 3 degrees, a 3-degree orb of that degree on your personal planets. So let's look to Taurus. Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus. It is the lower octave of the Venetian energy, and as such, Taurus may have a propensity to overindulge in things that they love, like chocolate, cashmere, and coffee. Boy, I'm beginning to sound like a Taurus myself. I like those things. Anyway, so Taurus is going to have to watch how they proceed in the next days of the retrograde, because if there is something that they actually like in their life and want around them, they are going to indulge in it. So for Taurus, you need to be a little bit more conscious of where you're going to put your energy. Is it just about what you like? What feels good to you, what you want to do during this time? I know all the Tauruses out there are nodding their heads with their little ears going, their little horns going, yep, it is exactly that. It's what we need and want and what we need to have happen. However, having said that, for Taurus, it's very interesting because it's actually hitting you directly in your relationship house. So you want to make sure that you communicate what your wants and needs during this time to your partner or potential partner or love interest or date mate. Now, as I said with Taurus, you guys really have to watch how and when and why you are moving forward in any given relationship setting, whether it be with office relationships, relationships, whatever it is. Taurus needs to be mindful that they are not overindulging or over pursuing a certain situation because it feels good to them. So for Taurus, it's all about your partnerships. And these can be any kind of partnerships. Partnerships with your kids, partnerships with your hockey coach, partnerships with your husband, partnerships with your wife, your law firm, your work, the person at the gym, the person at the grocery store. It doesn't matter. It's about your communication style and if you are considering the needs of the other person, or are you just doing what feels good to you? As I said, Taurus enjoys chocolate, cashmere, and coffee. So I suspect at the very least they're indulging in that. Okay, let's jump forward to Gemini. Now let's see where Gemini sits with this Venus in retrograde in Scorpio. Okay, so Gemini, this fits you right in your 6th house. And this is really interesting. You may need to watch getting yourself stressed during this time because it's going to hit those areas of the body that when we don't speak up for ourselves, that we tend to get sick. So that's the lung area, the head cold area. You guys need to take real care of your health during the Venus retrograde. And here's the interesting fact. You may want to start off, really, really strong at the moment in fixing your potential health problems. And this could be going on a juice cleanse. This could be running 18 miles a day. This could be doing any number of things or communicating with everybody that you've ever harmed or said something to that you feel you need to communicate with. you need to take it slow during this time, because what it is a reorganization of those things that are important in your life. So Gemini, is it work that's important to you? Is it relationships that's important to you? Is it both? You're going to be learning how to balance during this time. And if you can go through the balance part with the Venus retrograde, then the health part will fall right into place. The other thing is, for the Gemini people, you guys may be thinking on how to fix yourselves. By this, I mean, you could be thinking of, well, I've changed my style. I'm going to buy a new wardrobe, or I want to cut my hair off, or I want my hair is blonde. I want it black. My hair is black. I want it blonde. Don't do it during the retrograde phase. Map it out, analyze it, sit with it, which I know is practically impossible for a Gemini because they like to run out the front door and do whatever. And once you've done that, make the decisions as Venus is direct, as it's moving direct and going to the direct phase, because you will have a better outcome at that time. Okay, now we go to Cancers. Cancer, Cancer, Cancer. All right, the sign of Cancer. You guys, you moody guys. All right, so Cancer, this is really interesting because this is hitting you in your 5th house. So right now, as we hit this Venus retrograde, well, it'll actually be on October 6th. But as we're moving into the retrograde, this is hitting you in your house of your creative endeavors in the most literal sense. Also, any female children that you have are being aspected right now because it is the house of children. Venus is feminine, so they may be acting up. So you're going to need to have your patience with your female children. It's also any love affairs you have. Now, how do you define love affairs versus partnerships versus marriage? A love affair is just that. It is not a marriage relationship. This could be a long-term boyfriend or girlfriend, but for Cancer people, with Venus going retrograde in your 5th house, there's a consideration about whether you want to move forward in the relationship or move in a different direction or move towards marriage. So don't make any decisions during the retrograde, and for God's sakes, don't buy anything during the retrograde. That's a warning for all signs, because any big purchases during this time you may regret, because what is underneath them will not be revealed till after Venus goes direct. So for the Cancer types, it's all about the women and girl children, baby women in your life and how you relate to them, and also your creative ventures. So if you're a Cancer sun, moon, or rising and you have a creative venture that you're wanting to present, it's really a great time, once again, to map it out, think about how you want to speak about it, move forward with that, and present it as Venus goes direct. You will have a better outcome at that time. Do all the behind the scenes work now and then move forward. And that brings us to Leo. So Leo people, what's going on with the Venus retrograde for you? Well, for Leos, it's sitting in their 4th house of home. So obviously, the most logical thing to say is your Leo people are wanting to beautify their home. They want their home in a different way, or they want to be in a beautiful home. Now, as I've said, no large purchases during this time frame, because you will come to regret them, because it is a Venus retrograde. So remember that. What you find exquisitely beautiful right now, like that new home down the street on the hill with the purple windows, you may go, oh my God, I just love that. As soon as you buy it, you'll be, oh my God, I just hate that. Because visually it won't appeal to you, because remember, in the retrograde, it's going to bring up issues again. So for Leo, this is issues in your home, with your family, with everybody that resides in your home, but more along the lines of how do you get along with those people in your home? Is your home a sanctuary for where you want to be peaceful and enjoy your time? Or is it a Grand Central Station bus stop with people in and out all the time? Or is it a garbage dump that's wrecked? Or is it a beautiful Zen garden? This you have to figure out, and you also have to come to terms with what you want in your home during this Venus retrograde. Also, women figures in the home will be the primary focus, because it is Venus, and Venus rules women. So the women in your home, if you are a Leo man or woman, may be behaving badly, because what is Venus? It is women behaving badly. I love saying that. I love saying it during the Mars retrograde, men behaving badly. And now I love saying it with women behaving badly. Then we jump to Virgo. So for your Virgo types, we've just come out of your sign and we've jumped into Libra. So this has a calming influence on you. But for Virgos, this Venus retrograde is in your 3rd house of communication. And as such, you really, really, really have to watch how and when you speak to people, because as we know, Virgo can have a very cutthroat way of speaking when they aren't watching their words. They are wordsmiths. They can use words to turn people and flip them upside down. And they can say things repeatedly until people go, stop saying that. You've said it. You've said it 35 times. They love to do that. And so for Virgo, you're going to have to temper back your speech. Now with the Venus retrograde, if you get frustrated with people in your immediate environment, and keep in mind the third house is our siblings and people in our day-to-day neighborhood. So our day-to-day neighborhood is our work environment, and we may be working with our spouses, whether you're male or female Virgo, and this needs to be watched while you are speaking during this time frame. Also, with any of your female relations, you probably want to watch how you speak to them if you are pointing out certain things. And for God's sakes, Virgo, just smile when someone asks you how they look during the Venus retrograde. Just say, oh, beautiful. Don't tell them the truth, even if the truth is obvious, because you will catch real shit for it if you do. So remember, watch your tongue and how you speak during this time frame. And then we go to our Libras. Now, Libra, this is really fun for you or not, because we have you guys. It is your sun sign. It is Libra time. It's Libra season. And we have Venus in Scorpio getting ready to retrograde into your sign, which means if you have a sun, moon, or rising Libra at 25 degrees, 28 degrees, 1 degree of Scorpio, it is going to affect you directly because it is going backwards into your sign. And the difference between Scorpio and Libra as far as love relationships goes and creative endeavors is Scorpio is very, very focused on the undercurrent, and Libra is focused on the above current. So that can be the difference during this time. What is hidden and brought to the surface as Venus retrogrades backwards. So in other words, the Scorpio energy has kept it over here where it's somewhat hidden and out of the way, and the undercurrent is there. So it's like smelling smoke in a room, but you can't tell where it comes from. You know you can smell it, but where is it coming from? And then in Libra, it's bringing it up front and center. Oh, I can smell that smoke. I see it over there. How do I get rid of it? So this is Libra's challenge during this time. And since it is in your second house of your values and your money and the way that you approach things, these are the issues that are going to come up. Keep in mind, for Libra, they may make a decision to leave one type of work and move into another type of work. Now, this is really great because as they negotiate and they have conversations during the retrograde time frame, as Venus goes direct, those decisions and those ideas will be brought forward and you will have a better understanding of it, which is super awesome. All right, and then we have Scorpio. Okay, so Venus is going retrograde in your sign, Scorpios. All right, so that's women behaving badly for all you men Scorpios. It is hitting your first house. So for you guys, the Venus retrograde, now here's the double-edged sword. It's going to make you appear more attractive to those around you. People are going to want to be around your energy even in the retrograde because it's in your sign and it's sitting on you, and Venus is a beautification. So you may get into really good shape. You may buy really great clothes. People may just be really interested in everything about you at this point. However, because it is retrograde, this may be part of the problem. Part of the problem is you may have too many choices with things that you're doing. So you're really going to need to step back and decide which choices you want to follow given the opportunities that will be presented during the retrograde time frame. Because why? Because Venus retrograde is not always clear with its agenda in the beginning. And for a Scorpio and in Scorpio, this is a clash of interests. So we may not really know what it is we're dealing with if we have a Scorpio rising, sun sign or moon sign. We may not understand what we are getting ourselves into during this time frame, and it will become apparent after Venus goes direct. So keep that in mind. From the 6th to the 16th of November, 6th of October to the 16th of November, this can be an issue. The other thing that we have with it being in your sign is people may use flattery to get their needs met from you. Usually a Scorpio trick, this may actually happen to you. So you may see the energy flipped around on you and you may not like it during this time frame. So pay attention to whom and how you're speaking to people around you so that you understand the way the game is being played. All right, so after Scorpio, we have your Sagittariuses. You're happy Sagittariuses. Okay, happy Sag, wandering Sag. Where can we find Sages? I don't know. I just heard one come in the door. That was my Sag coming in the door. Anyway, Sagittariuses, Venus retrograde is hitting you in the 12th house. What does this mean? The 12th house, whether you are a Sag sun, moon, or rising, the influence is hidden. The 12th house in the natural wheel is the house of self-undoing and hidden enemies. Now, when Venus sits up there, as any of you know that are born with Venus in the 12th house, this is female enemies. Okay, so this is females that cause you trouble. So this is, pay in mind, Sagittarius, hidden relationships that you don't reveal to your wife or partner in the background. So that means things like affairs or other girls that you date if you're not married, which would be like cheating on your girlfriend or boyfriend or however you want to word that. And it's also people from your past coming up. And here's a very interesting twist on that. Because Venus is in Scorpio, placed in the 12th house for you Sagittariuses, this can bring about stalker types. So this can bring about women and men whom you speak with that you're like, I don't know if I really want to date them. It can make them follow you, stalk you, find you. So pay attention to that with these new relationships, especially with the internet. There's so much information out there. So for Sagittariuses, it's very interesting because it's a very covert energy for you guys. So pay attention to that in your overall life. Also, for those Sagittariuses that are in businesses that are considered 12th house or Piscean or Scorpionic, detective work, legal work, prostitution and things like that. I'll just bring it up. Psychic work. This can actually be a good time for your creative ventures during this time frame because it's all 12th house matters. And when Venus goes retrograde, it will bring opportunities back to the surface that you haven't dealt with, and it will clear them up, which is interesting because usually 12th house stuff is very hidden. It's an undercurrent, so it never really does get cleared up. But during this time frame, it will get cleared up. So that's a very interesting thing. Now, let's jump on to our Capricorns. And Capricorns, this Venus retrograde in Scorpio at 10 degrees is hitting you guys in the 11th house of hopes and dreams, goals and wishes, and friends. So for Capricorns, this, and keep in mind, Pluto just went direct in Capricorn. Yay. That's so good for you guys. Now, finally, you can come back out and start meeting all of your friends. And this Venus retrograde does just that. It's presenting you with a whole lot of friends, and you will find them in different groups, and you will find them in different ways. Now, you may not keep all of this new social circle of friends that you meet during the retrograde, but they will open your eyes. Next one. Okay. So keep in mind, Capricorn, for you, all of these new friends that you're meeting and people that you're connecting with on the Venus retrograde, this is going to open your eyes up to a different way of expression. And it's really exciting for you guys because after Venus goes direct, those creative projects that were brought up through friends, different friends, weirdo friends, during the time frame of the retrograde may actually start to happen after the retrograde for you. So for Capricorn, it is a very, very good energy. Now, let's jump to Aquarius. And this is hitting your career house, Aquarius. So for you guys, this is really awesome. It's hitting the 10th house, and your Aquarius people are now starting, especially if you're in the arts in any way, arts, entertainment, maybe even if you upholster cars for a living, it's going to open up your creative endeavors during this time frame, and it's going to bring you opportunity in a career way. But here's the catch. You may be given a lot of opportunity during this time frame and not know which way to go. So remember, Aquarius, if you don't know which way to go, you probably are going to need to just sit with it and observe until you figure out which way you want to go. The other important thing here, as it is with Leo, Aquarius and Leo, you're both on the parental axis, which means there can be family members that come front and center, or people you consider family members for the Aquarius in a female sense that may be dealing with some health issues during this time frame because it is on that axis, and that's an emotional axis. And Venus retrograde would mean that it would bring about a sense of loss of somebody that you love in a female sense within the family axis. So this can be somebody that is a mother, a grandmother, for both Leo and Aquarius actually, because it's the 10th, 4th house. It can be a grandmother, it can be somebody that you consider a female family member, like an auntie, somebody that comes into your family. So keep that in mind. And this Venus retrograde really opens the door for things to happen, because with the Venus retrograde, that will bring up the fact that we love the person, bring up what's going on with the person, and then the retrograde removes that as it moves forward. Keep that in mind. Things are going well, and then the undercurrent comes up, and then it's presented to us, and then it's revealed, and then it's done with. So just keep that in mind, Aquarius people. Not that it's going to happen, but that's one of the aspects that could happen depending on your personal chart. And so once we go from Aquarius, we hit last but not least, and that is Pisces. Our Pisces people are hitting the 9th house. So your Piscean people during the retrograde, especially if you're in any sort of beautification business, are probably wanting to go back and get some sort of an education. So you guys are wanting to go backwards and get some sort of an education to move your work forward. And this includes traveling. So for your Pisces people, you are going to see yourselves wanting to study, educate, go to faraway places. There's a wanderlust that's coming in. And with the Venus retrograde in Scorpio, it's going to bring up those issues. What do you want in your life? What do you want to have happen? Do you want to move? Do you want a different kind of relationship? So write these things down and focus on them. Don't look at it as not happening right now. Because as I've said, you really shouldn't be making huge purchases during this time frame. So if things don't fall into line with a move or with a situation or the kind of school you want to get into, don't worry about it, because it's going to come up again in the next 40 days as Venus goes direct. You will start to see it happen. So this is really an awesome time frame for you. I want you to pay attention to what it is you want to do to further your goals and dreams and wishes in the 9th house, and how does that match with the way that you approach things, because I feel like it's going to be something that opens your eyes to where you can potentially move. That's for Pisces. So I hope all of the signs out there are enjoying this update on the Venus retrograde. And once again, I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com.